So today we're going to talk to you about some of the key insights and trends that we see happening in the marketplace, and particularly around the opportunity to drive relevancy and communications. And we're really excited to bring Bond and Salesforce together in this presentation because we think we have a lot of combined power and energy in this space that we want to bring to light for you today. So on the Bond side, we have been designing, building, and operating loyalty programs for the past 25 years, in addition to driving really deep loyalty insights through tools such as the Loyalty Report, which is the largest report and research on customer engagement and loyalty programs in the world. And it's now in its 14th year. So it has tons of valuable insights to offer in the loyalty space, combining that with the power of Salesforce, bringing their loyalty platform to market in support and delivery of what is the strongest CRM solution out in the marketplace today, the number one CRM solution. So James and I are really excited to have a conversation with you today about what's happening in the marketplace, what trends are we seeing, what data is informing the next steps of where we need to go in loyalty design. So James, over to you to tell us a little bit about what's happening in the retail loyalty space as you guys see over at Salesforce.
Yeah, well, the good news is like there's been no change whatsoever in like the world of retailers and brands. It's just been status quo, right, for the last couple of years. Not the case. There's so much. There's so much change. There's continuing like consumer expectations that have shifted. And as we've been having our conversations and checking in with retailers and brands lately, we've kind of distilled what we feel are some of the top trends and priorities that are top of mind. Of course, delivering these connected, consistent omni-channel experiences is absolutely critical. Blending the digital and the brick and mortar and in-person shopping events and so forth. We're also seeing consumers that are very price-oriented, very price conscious, seeking these deals. We saw like a huge successful summer holiday season happen over the last month or so. But if you also look, loyalty has been so top of mind in the last couple of years with the number of companies that have launched brand new loyalty programs for the very first time. And also so many that have actually reimagined and relaunched a legacy program to introduce new capabilities and experiences and everything to really modernize that. So yes, so much happening in the world, but loyalty seems to be this connective tissue kind of through so much of it. As we look at really what is the expectation when it comes to loyalty programs out there, things have shifted. I think the traditional programs were very monetary and transactionally oriented, the earn and burn. But what you're starting to see is that it's so much more than rewards. We really do need to move beyond the transaction because people are starting to really expect, to feel like they're known and appreciated at every turn. They want experiences. They want offers and benefits that increase, freedom of choice that are more timely and relevant to what they absolutely care about. And it's so much more than just unlocking a $5 off coupon, for example. And we're seeing like when these are not meeting their needs, the consumer is actually deleting and leaving a lot of these programs. And that's why so many brands are looking at what they need to do to modernize their reward system. As we look at what's coming next, it's really important for companies, as of course they're trying to figure out how do they reach Gen Z and Gen Alpha and millennials and Gen X and so many others. But one of the most important demographics that they really do need to focus on is knowing who their best customers are and really ensuring that they're meeting those needs. Because like we hear, the top, like 80% of a company's future revenue comes from those top 20% of customers. And it's absolutely critical that they are catering to them, that they're meeting their needs, and then they're like turning them into brand advocates as much as possible, because those recommendations that come from a friend or family are just so much more trusted and so forth. So loyalty, membership, whether it's a program or not, is a very critical component that we're seeing right now in the world of retail.
Fantastic. Well, I think we're seeing so many of the same things when we look at that marketplace and what is driving the expectation of the consumer. And this is where the loyalty report can really help us dive deeper into those motivations, what's important to them, where are the areas of emphasis and differentiation that we can actually create as the brands delivering on that loyalty promise to our consumers. So this year's study, and as I mentioned, this is actually our 14th year of this study in the marketplace. We're going to focus today on the US data, but I do want to indicate we have all of this data for the Canadian market as well. And in 2023, we actually had a global study. So we have the understanding of the trends that are influencing the global markets as well. But over 20,000 consumers responded to our study this year, evaluating over 360 programs. And we've consistently evolved our methodology and our leadership around how to understand program performance through not only our methodologies around the drivers and the value that those create, but also around what consumers are saying. So you're starting to see some of this data get associated with behavioral data. We're able to do that through our Wallet IQ and through Sentiment Extractor. We're actually able to associate what consumers are saying positively or negatively about the program that helps us further understand the performance that we have in market. So our tool set keeps growing as we evolve our opportunity to understand performance in the marketplace. And one of the things that we continue to see is this pressure happening within the wallet. So James, as you were just mentioning, consumers want to stay engaged and attracted, but when they don't have that differentiated experience, they will delete, they will give up the program experience. And what we're seeing happen in the market today is that there's continued fragmentation of the number of brands in every category that a consumer is shopping. They are being somewhat promiscuous. They're also trying out new experiences as they go. And if you don't have a differentiated value proposition, then that me too-ness will challenge you to really attract and retain some of those customers that you're looking to win. We get asked quite often, how much does loyalty really influence somebody's intention to spend or stay loyal into a brand? What we can tell you from this year's study is actually the influence of loyalty on their attitudes, so their likelihood to recommend the brand, to stay loyal to the brand, to be retained by the brand, and actually the importance of the loyalty program in their overall relationship with the brand, as well as influencing their spend, are at record highs. We have never seen consumers so engaged in loyalty value propositions as we do today, which means competition is fierce. And when we look at the US market, they have enrolled in over 18 programs, and they're active in about 50%, in about 9 of them. So you want to ensure that you're one of those 9 that is actually changing behavior within the consumer's wallet. So you were mentioning how consumers today are fairly price sensitive. They're paying attention definitely to the price situation that's out in the marketplace. This is our relevancy driver. We call the R driver model, and there are 36 attributes that go behind these 7 different categories to understand what is driving the sense of loyalty program. So the program is actually engaging and changing that consumer behavior. We expected this year to see that financial driver on the inside 5 there have greater importance. We thought because of all the focus and attention in the marketplace, we would see that spike up. What I think is so interesting is the consistency year over year that we're actually seeing the balance of performance across these drivers, which means you don't have to over-rotate into that financial benefit if you are delivering on experiences of Know Me, which is personalization, learning how to maximize the benefit that I get out of the program, time, which is ease and convenience of dealing with your brand as a result of being a member, and access being treated differently as a member than a non-member. You have all of those territories to work within in order to create a differentiated experience that really delivers on your brand promise. And so this is the opportunity, I think, to create something unique that stands apart from the rest and that really helps to retain and win over that wallet share with your consumer. So what are consumers telling us? In this year's study, they're telling us that that competition for their attention, their space and wallet, even the opportunity for partnerships is pretty fierce. They are understanding that they're a desirable commodity out in that marketplace, that programs are really working a number of different ways to try and win the attention and the focus of. So it's important that that distinction and the delivery on your brand promise really come to life. We're also seeing emotions are fickle. So we don't necessarily see the same kind of entrenched behaviors we might have seen before. Members are indicating that they actually don't feel like brands are as successful delivering in those in-person moments. And I will share that those in-person moments have become more important the more digital focused we have become. So the reps being able to deliver on a great member experience is actually the #2 driver in this year's study. And yet members aren't feeling that that's an outcome that they're seeing on a consistent basis. And the other area where they want to see more progress is around communications. So this is the comment around relevancy rules. Personalization is more than just my name and my account balance. It's more than a happy birthday message. It's actual relevancy throughout my journey. And the expectation is changing that consumers will have a more tailored journey with your brand throughout the experience and offerings that they're seeing. But they're not necessarily seeing this come to life consistently the way they would like. So that's led us to one of our key insights from this year's study, which is that life cycles are on life support. That personalization promise isn't quite being delivered on, and that relevancy expectation is not yet being met, which is why we thought today we'd focus on this opportunity for relevancy and communication enhancement. When we dive a bit deeper into the delivery of program communication strategy and its ability to engage your consumer, we asked a couple of questions. One around they're looking forward to receiving a communication from you, so that anticipation, and then how relevant that communication actually was. And we will look at the US market overall. We see about a quarter strongly agree, so top box score, that they look forward to receiving the communication from the brand or the program. And you'll see just underneath that, we've been able to dial in a little more specifically into the retail sector. James is particularly interested in retail. We can do that across a number of sectors, even understand brand performance level as well on that data point. But the outcomes when you achieve it, so when you are one of that 1/4 of brands that are achieving that anticipation, the lifts that we see on satisfaction, retention, and their loyalty to the program scores go up significantly. Now, about 30% of brands are actually achieving relevancy in their communications. So, not doing a little bit better there, and retail right on par with that. But once again, if we do that successfully, there are such strong outcomes on overall experience and performance within the program. We want to be part of that 30%, and we want to grow that number meaningfully. Now,
So much room
sorry,
for
go ahead, James.
opportunity. Yeah, so much room for opportunity for retailers and brands to lean in.
Absolutely. And I know, some of these metrics sound like, okay, yeah, of course, I want my customer to be more loyal, but how does that translate into financials? Am I actually going to win greater share of wallet? The answer is yes. When people are anticipating your communications, you will secure a greater share of their spend in that category. So across this metric, we're looking to understand, the frequency with which they're looking forward to your communications, and then the percent of the category spend that they think they spend with that brand, dependent on that frequency that they're looking forward to. And when we have loyalty members who are saying they want to be communicated with at least once a week or even more often, we actually see that share go up significantly, 8 points growth. I think most brand marketers would love to have that opportunity. So that's where we want to achieve the relevancy of communication so that we get that anticipation happening from the consumer standpoint to really drive that financial outcome of greater share of wallet. So how do we do that? How do we understand what communications are actually driving those satisfaction and that desire for anticipated and further communications? This is an example of us comparing the US overall top 5 drivers versus high frequency. And again, this is one of those areas where we can look at differentiated data by category in order to get to more specificity, because there are some differences. One of the things that I'll say is that there are basics we all need to do a better job on. Welcoming me to the program is a key one that we really want to make sure everybody is doing successfully, but they're indicating, not always feeling the welcome that they would like to, but that opportunity to recommend and participate in community are interesting ones for us to differentiate our experience on. What we find is many loyalty programs are really successful from the moment you identify yourself in a moment of purchase to the experience of ownership with that brand or the next instigation of purchase. But what they aren't great at is actually creating that initial opportunity for discovery, inspiration, relevancy, and consumers are looking for their programs to deliver on that. So who's doing it well? Here are some of the brands that we find are really successful at delivering a relevant communications journey. And I'll pick on a couple of these just to show some of the differences that we see happening in market. Spotify has put a lot of focus actually into their digital experience in order to enable that discovery that I was just talking about. There's a lot of new tech solutioning, use of AI, those kinds of things that really make it feel customized and personalized to that particular user. You can pick your favorite color of the day, you can tell them what mood you're in, and they'll tailor a list just for you. That certainly feels highly relevant and highly personalized, and it's built into their app experience. Lululemon is a very different direction. Their loyalty program has the same value proposition for all members in market. Now, they did just introduce a whole bunch of new partners that I think is a really interesting way for them to extend the value of that value proposition. But their in-store experience and their experience when you interact with one of their educators is really what they're known for. Their staff is trained to educate about the technology, the functionality, the kind of product you might use for your optimal performance. And they all ask a million questions of the consumer in order to tailor that experience. And then that gets reflected out in every communication you have from them. So the just for you section really does feel reflected just for you. And the you bought it before section makes it really easy and seamless for you to reorder something that you loved, but in a new color. So they have a different approach to sort of creating that relevancy. Nike has been doing a great job of this, I think, for quite a long time, which is that with that one single sign-on across any digital engagement you have with Nike, they can meet that customer wherever they are. So if James has his personal best run time on his Nike Run app this morning, the next time he engages on any Nike platform where he's identified by that single sign-on ID, they'll recognize him and say, James, amazing job. You had your best run time today. And so that acknowledgement of the importance of the engagement and opportunity that you're having with them, these are all different ways to really bring that sense of relevancy and the anticipation of communication to life. Now, we don't want to forget about co-brand because many brands have the opportunity to combine their loyalty program experience with their co-brand experience. And congruence between these things really does matter. You will have much stronger outcomes when these two things really work in combination with each other, as opposed to feeling like two differentiated program experiences. So when the credit card program and the loyalty program work seamlessly together, 41% of Americans strongly agree with the statement around their engagement and their desire for those communications. And so that also influences spend on card, which goes up by 21%. So really strong outcomes here when we make sure that communication strategy between the loyalty program and the co-brand experience come together relatively seamlessly to feel like one experience for the consumer and not two differentiated engagements that they're having. So how do we understand what it is we need to focus on? This is a bit of an eyeball chart, I know. It's really just to show as a bit of an example of the kind of detail we can get into on what program communication opportunities you might have in front of you. So to read this chart, going left to right, we have the communications that are sort of least impactful on their engagement to the most impactful on their engagement. And from top to bottom, the highest performing versus the lowest performing. And so if you look at that bottom right-hand quadrant, that is where we have all the opportunity in the world to create a really relevant and differentiated experience for our customers by highlighting communication opportunities that are important to them, but today they don't see consistently reflected back from the brands or the programs that they're engaging with. So we're hoping a bunch of these insights really helped you to understand the ways in which, data insight can drive forward your loyalty experience and also enable a great experience within your CRM strategy as well. And that's why we thought bringing together Bond and Salesforce today would help you think about ways in which you can optimize and iterate against both your loyalty experience and your CRM strategy. On the Bond side, we are really excited to partner with Salesforce on utilizing some of our insights around new design, what can optimize your program experience, ways in which to transform. We have a number of tools within our suite that would help you dive deeper into the data to really identify the most impactful territories for optimizing program experience or designing one that is really unique and differentiated for you. But at the same time, we can also enable relatively lightweight solutions where we come in and help workshop and problem solve some of the things that you might be tackling today within your loyalty experience. But I think it's that opportunity to really utilize the data insight we have to drive forward some of your strategy and leverage this within your Salesforce experience that'll really create something unique and powerful.
Yeah, and I love what you said there. It's like loyalty can show up in so many different ways from brand to brand. And what's right for one may not be right for another, especially across the different verticals, from jewelry to home and decor to like home and hardware to sports and outdoor. Like membership can mean so many different things. So I love that you talked about kind of the private label credit card making a comeback, because we saw that really dropping off. And then I think that really coincides with a lot of the premier and paid membership that we've been seeing lately, and how those can really drive a lot of value and incremental sales when they work really well together. I love that you talked about community being a major theme of loyalty and membership too, to help that person grow this emotional connection with a brand, and having access to that ecosystem where partners are an extension of that brand experience across that. So as we really looked at loyalty and membership and everything here as a company at Salesforce, one of the things that we just didn't have like nearly 4 years ago was the ability to set up and define a loyalty or membership program within our CRM solution. So that's exactly what we built, organically from scratch on top of our core platform, knowing that a lifelong relationship starts with knowing and understanding the customer. And here we were already delivering amazing marketing and commerce capabilities and sales and CRM, but we wanted to ensure that what we brought to market would be able to connect that data with those experiences across the board in a holistic and connected way, to really be able to ingest data, because it still exists all over the place in retailers and brands that may have, homegrown solutions and, data like literally all over the place. So what can we do to help build a more unified operational view and make it easier to interact with those customers, to gain additional attributes and insights and tidbits about each of them, so that we can drive better personalization. But ultimately, on the next slide, if you could, it's about connecting that membership across your entire business. Loyalty is an enterprise-wide initiative. Every area of a retailer's business today needs to know what role they play in that overall customer loyalty experience, whether they're on the call center and customer service, whether they're that in-store associate, as you mentioned, and the critical role they play with that brick and mortar engagement, or commerce or digital or social, or even a partner, or someone that does the delivery and setup at a home. Everybody's has a role to play. And it really does start with having that customer be at the very center. So that's exactly what we've been trying to do. We launched Salesforce Loyalty Management. It's the fastest growing loyalty platform out there on the market today. And it's absolutely amazing to be able to have that data and then leverage the power of machine learning and AI to then drive automation, and then ultimately that personalized outreach, the personalized offers and benefits, and more importantly, like you said, the communications that are timely and relevant, and in the channel and preference that the customer really wants. So I'm really excited with this partnership here, because I know that it really is that difficult part about loyalty is figuring out what it should be, not what it could be. There's so many examples of all the possibilities out there in the market, but the tough conversations come down to working with the retailers to understand what is right for them, and for the customers and for the products that they sell, and be able to be flexible to have that be able to grow and adapt over time. And that's really where I think the power of Bond with Salesforce is going to be very, very critical to leverage that 25 years of loyalty expertise, as you mentioned. So on the next one, I believe, like I'm very excited about what we have coming. There's so much more in the loyalty report that came out. So we just covered a little bit today. Megan, if you want to tell them a little bit more of like how to get access to the rest of the report.
Yeah, absolutely. So, James, what I wanted to say just on your last slide is I think the focus of both of our organizations is on loyalty as an outcome, right? It really is that holistic view of loyalty where we're not just driving the loyalty perception of a program, but an entire customer experience that's delivering on that loyalty for a brand, for an organization. So yes, we have so much more data within the loyalty report that we'd be happy to share. We can even customize for brands as well. Lori is our key contact. Her information is here on the screen. You can always reach out to me on LinkedIn as well. But our ability to really help brands focus in on the key territories where we know we actually have the data and insight to demonstrate the performance they have today and the opportunities that they have benchmarked against their competitive set, I think is a hugely valuable tool to the strategy and planning that then goes forward and feeds into the opportunity to optimize the tools and the platforms that they're using, such as the Salesforce platforms today.
Lovely. And if you haven't been checking out the Bond Loyalty Report for the last 14 years, you've been missing out. Be sure to check it out in full detail. There's a ton of other insights that are a part of that. So yeah, look for more. And then, yeah, as she said, any questions, please send them our way. We would love to continue the conversation. So thank you so much for your time today, for joining us.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.